Peter Yarrow was a singer, composer, and activist whose work transcended the confines of music to inspire social and political change. He was a revered character in the American folk music renaissance. His work was a source of inspiration for musicians. The descriptive lyrics and harmonizing melodies of Yarrow became the voice of a generation, addressing themes of civil rights, peace, and justice. Yarrow is best known for being a founding member of the legendary trio Peter, Paul, and Mary. It was via songs such as Puff, The Magic Dragon, and If I Had a Hammer that he was able to win the affection of millions of people, while also sparking movements for equality and compassion. Beyond his music, Yarrow left behind an enduring legacy as an artist who utilized his platform to make the world a kinder and more inclusive place. His unrelenting commitment to advocacy, which included his work with Operation Respect, was a significant part of this legacy. Childhood and instructional years. On May 31st, 1938, Peter Yarrow was born in New York City to parents who had immigrated from another country. His parents instilled in him a passion for learning and the arts. Both of his parents were educators and musicians. His mother, Vera Yarrow, worked in social work, and his father, Bernard Yarrow, was a musician. Early on in his life, Yarrow had a deep love for music and a commitment to social justice. He was raised in an environment that was intellectually engaging. After completing his high school education at the illustrious High School of Music and Art in Manhattan, he went on to pursue his college education at Cornell University, where he studied psychology and graduated with a degree in 1959. It was during his time as a college student that Yarrow began to consider music as a vehicle for action. He did this by combining his academic pursuits with his growing interest in folk traditions, getting started with folk music. At the same time that Yarrow was making his debut in the folk music scene, a bigger cultural shift was taking place in the late 1950s and early 1960s. He soon established himself as a talented singer and songwriter, and the Greenwich Village music scene in New York City became a hub for budding folk performers. Yarrow was one of the musicians that participated in this environment. Professionals in the industry took notice of his voice because of its warm and inviting quality as well as his ability to connect emotionally with people. His collaboration with Mary Travers and Paul Stuckey in 1961 resulted in the formation of the trio known as Peter, Paul, and Mary. They were distinguished from other folk acts of the time period by the harmonious blend of voices that they possessed and their shared devotion to progressive causes. A self-titled debut album was released by the band in 1962, shortly after they got a recording contract with Warner Bros. Records. The album swiftly rose to the top of the charts. The success of Peter, Paul, and Mary in the world of music. As a result of their streak of singles that connected with audiences of all ages and generations, Peter, Paul, and Mary became one of the most recognized folk groups of their era. Their songs became anthems for the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement, and their music frequently addressed topics such as human dignity, justice, and peace. Despite recurrent accusations of concealed drug references, Puff, The Magic Dragon, which was co-written by Yarrow and Leonard Lipton, was a passionate examination of youthful innocence and the passing of time. It is considered to be one of their most famous works. There were also songs that became standards in the folk genre, such as If I Had a Hammer Blowin' in the Wind and Where Have All the Flowers Gone. These songs were among the biggest hits of the band. The influence of the group extended beyond the realm of their music. Additionally, they supported other significant events that occurred during the fight for civil rights, such as the March on Washington in 1963, where Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his I Have a Dream speech, and they performed at the event. They were able to bridge the gap between art and social change thanks to their dedication to activism, which earned them a special position in the annals of American history. Musical compositions and solo work. Additionally, Yarrow explored solo projects that displayed his talent as a performer and lyricist in addition to his work with the Three. In spite of the fact that his solo recordings were not as economically successful as his group records, they were a reflection of his profound dedication to narrative and his ability to create music that was emotionally evocative. In addition to that, Yarrow composed music for children, drawing inspiration from his experiences as a father in part. During his performances for younger audiences, he frequently included sing-alongs and messages of love and inclusiveness. This was in line with his larger aim of utilizing music to bring people together, advocacy and political activism. The activism that Yarrow engaged in was just as important to his identity as his music. He spent his entire life participating in marches, rallies, and benefit concerts in support of civil rights, and he was a stalwart supporter for these causes. During the time of the Vietnam War, his anti-war position was represented in both his music and his public pronouncements, in which he pleaded for peace and understanding in the midst of turbulent circumstances. A nonprofit organization that is committed to promoting anti-bullying and conflict resolution programs in schools was established by Yarrow in the year 1999. This organization is known as Operation Respect. Don't Laugh at Me, the organization's trademark program, was designed to stimulate kids' capacity for empathy and emotional resilience through the integration of musical elements and educational resources. Through the completion of this endeavor, Yarrow's legacy as a caring advocate for change was further strengthened. Life and legacy of the individual. In 1969, Peter Yarrow tied the knot with Mary Beth McCarthy, and the couple went on to begin a family with 2 children, Bethany and Christopher. At the same time as Christopher sought a career in education, Bethany followed in her father's footsteps and became a performing pianist. Yarrow frequently attributed his creative and charitable pursuits to his family, stating that they were the source of his inspiration and helped him to remain grounded. Yarrow was dedicated to making positive use of his position, despite the fact that his life was not devoid of controversy. He was subjected to criticism for an incident that occurred in 1970 and involved an inappropriate connection. He later expressed profound regret for this episode. His later acts and public apologies mirrored a journey of learning and accountability that he had been on throughout his entire life. Aging and the process of passing. Yarrow continued to do performances and campaign for topics that were near and dear to his heart, even in his older years. At benefit concerts and folk festivals, where his music and messages of unity resonated with audiences of all ages, he continued to be a regular performer. In the year 2021, Yarrow was given a diagnosis of bladder cancer, which he fought with bravery and determination throughout his survival. In spite of his sickness, he insisted on continuing his dedication to music and activism, and he performed whenever he had the opportunity. At the age of 86, Peter Yarrow passed away on January 7, 2025. He was surrounded by his family and loved ones at the time of his passing. The life of Peter Yarrow is a demonstration of the power that music possesses to motivate people to make changes, to heal divisions, and to promote community. By way of his collaborations with Peter, Paul, and Mary, his solo ventures, and his activism, Yarrow was able to mold the musical landscape of an entire generation while also advocating for the principles of kindness, justice, and peace. Not only will his legacy live on in the immortal melodies that he composed, but it will also live on in the numerous lives that he changed via his advocacy and artistic endeavors. Through the celebration of Peter Yarrow, We pay tribute to a man who had faith in the transformational power of love and the unyielding resilience of the human spirit.